Hi! The survival sim genre has come a long way over the last few years, and 2026 feels like its point of maturity. Nowadays, developers are moving beyond simple hunger bars and basic crafting, offering complex social systems, advanced physics, and truly unique settings. In this video, we're breaking down 20 of the most significant projects of the year, including both fan favorites already out and highly anticipated releases dropping before the end of December. Let's start with The Last Caretaker. Picture this: Earth is completely flooded, humanity has vanished, and you wake up as a robot caretaker. In The Last Caretaker, you aren't hunting for food or watching a hunger bar. You have a much bigger, global goal. Your mission is to find human seeds, cultivate them in special pods, and prepare a new generation of people for launch into orbit. This is a different breed of survival where the main currency is energy, spare parts, and resource management. Instead of mindlessly chopping trees, you'll be dismantling abandoned labs, restoring power grids, and fixing machinery, sometimes even manually rewiring cables to find a short circuit. But don't expect a walk in the park. The world is crawling with rogue machines and hostile systems that will actively sabotage your mission. You'll explore sunken docks and abandoned outposts, slowly piecing together the history of a civilization that tried desperately to survive the end of the world. AETHUS. If you've ever been frustrated by survival sims that drop you into an open world with no clear objective, AETHUS puts a powerful, intriguing narrative front and center. You play as Maeve, an engineer trying to survive on an uncharted planet while uncovering the dark secrets of the corporation she works for. Here, every resource run and every wall you build is driven by the story. It's also a paradise for players who love building and creating a cozy space. The developers found a perfect balance between exploring dangerous, dark dungeons and customizing a high-tech home away from home. You can design your shelter down to the smallest detail, turning it into a true sanctuary far from Earth. Road to Vostok. This one is a true gift for fans of hardcore experiences like DayZ. Set after a massive ecological disaster, you are a lone traveler whose only goal is to reach the mysterious Vostok zone. There is absolutely no hand-holding here. You'll have to scavenge abandoned villages and piece your gear together bit by bit. The gunplay feels and sounds incredible, and every skirmish could be your last. But the real tension starts when you enter the Vostok zone itself, where permadeath mechanics kick in. If you die there, you lose everything you've spent hours collecting. If you're looking for a gritty, ultra-realistic sim where every can of food feels like a victory, this is it. Echoes of Elysium. This game flips the survival genre on its head. Instead of building mud huts, you're constructing entire fleets of airships. It takes place in a stunning world where wild nature meets ancient mechanical wonders. Your airship isn't just a vehicle, it's your home, your fortress, and your mobile base of operations. You'll build it by hand, piece by piece, installing engines and fine-tuning every system. The gameplay centers on constant exploration, soaring over vast landscapes, docking at mysterious floating islands, and scavenging ruins for rare tech and blueprints. But the skies of Elysium are just as dangerous as the ground. You'll need to defend your fleet and upgrade your armor and weaponry to survive. ASTROBOTANICA. Usually, when aliens come to Earth in games, it's to destroy it. But in ASTROBOTANICA, the story takes a very different turn. You play as Zell, a highly educated alien botanist who crash-landed on our planet about 300,000 years ago during the Pleistocene epoch. Your original mission was to find rare seeds to save your home world, but now, the priority is just staying alive in a hostile prehistoric environment. The hook here is the scientific approach over typical survival violence. Instead of swinging a sword or a spear, you'll be studying flora, crossbreeding plants, and using their properties to survive. Prehistoric Earth is harsh for an alien organism, so the local plant life becomes your weapon, your med kit, and your oxygen tank all in one. You'll be planting gardens, experimenting with fertilizers, and breeding new species to create protective suits and supplies. The prehistoric fauna won't make it easy, but you'll solve your problems with wit and science rather than brute force. Lay of the Land. If you thought the voxel survival genre hit its limit with Minecraft, Lay of the Land is here to prove you wrong. The big hook here is the pairing of procedural generation and physics. The entire world is made of blocks, but they behave realistically. You can literally tunnel through a mountain to build a cozy home or redirect the path of a river to protect your base. It's a game about creation and survival in a world where the terrain is both your greatest tool and your biggest hurdle. But don't get too comfortable. This isn't just a builder's sandbox. The world is alive and fairly aggressive. You'll need to monitor more than just food, temperature, and your impact on the ecosystem matter too. If you chop down too many trees, expect the soil to start eroding. If you build your base in a bad spot, a landslide might just flatten it. Project Castaway. Admit it, we've all dreamed of being stranded on a deserted tropical island. Project Castaway brings that dream to life, but with a very grounded and gritty approach. You find yourself in the middle of the Pacific, and your life depends on how fast you can learn to harvest coconuts, spear fish, and build a raft from scrap. Visually, the game is stunning. The water is so clear you'll want to dive right through your screen. But remember, beneath that beauty lie hungry sharks and dangerous currents. The coolest part is the inter-island travel system. You aren't stuck in one place. To find rare resources or blueprints, you'll have to build proper boats and head into the open ocean. The weather can change in an instant. A dead calm can shift into a brutal storm that can tear your flimsy raft to pieces. Nested Lands. Now, get ready for something truly dark. Nested Lands is a brutal RPG survival game set in a plague-stricken medieval Germany. Forget bright colors. Here, it's all about mud, hopelessness, and the constant fear of infection. You play as a survivor trying to not just stay alive in this hellscape, but to build your own settlement. You'll need to take other poor souls under your wing, assign roles, and make sure your little community doesn't die out from hunger or disease over a single winter. A mechanic called the rot permeates the entire game. It's not just for show. The infection changes everything around you, turning people and animals into horrific mutants. You'll have to make heavy moral choices, like whether to kick a sick person out into the cold to save the rest or spend your last few supplies on a slim hope for a cure. The building system is deep, and the combat feels heavy and visceral. Windrose. Windrose is a project for the romantics and explorers who can't live without the sea. Imagine a world made of endless archipelagos where the only way to survive is to become the captain of your own ship. Here, survival isn't just about food and water. Your primary concern is your vessel. You'll literally build your first lugger board by board, tune the sails, and learn to catch the wind. The sail physics in this game are on another level. You can actually feel the wind pushing the ship forward. But the ocean in Windrose isn't just for trading and peaceful cruises. You'll have to fight off pirates, explore abandoned lighthouses, and search for treasure on islands that aren't even on the map yet. You can be anyone, a peaceful trader, a bold corsair, or a hermit cartographer. What makes the game unique is the level of detail regarding life on board. You have to monitor the hull's condition, fresh water supplies, and even the crew's morale. Oceaneers is a fantastic mix of survival sim and colony management. You take control of a group of survivors stranded on floating islands. The big twist here is that you can literally tow new pieces of land and attach them to your settlement. You'll need to hunt for mysterious ancient technology known as float tech to keep your islands buoyant and slowly transform a tiny patch of ground into a thriving floating base. You'll have to take care of every colonist in detail, monitoring fresh water, growing food, and even managing waste recycling. To get rare resources, you'll need to construct rafts and head out on dangerous expeditions to new biomes. But the most interesting stuff is inside the islands themselves. That's where you'll find hidden bunkers from an old corporation, packed with secrets and high-value loot. Add to that unpredictable weather, pesky seagulls trying to steal your crops, and toothy sharks trying to take a bite out of your raft. Project Mist. This game features a grim open world where colossal, terrifying monsters roam the horizon, making you feel like a mere insect by comparison. The developers are promising total freedom of action, no invisible walls or mandatory quests. Whether you want to build an impenetrable fortress and set clever traps, or pick up a gravity gun to manipulate objects for survival, the choice is yours. The standout feature here is the ability to build your base directly on a moving train, allowing you to stay mobile and hide from whatever lurks behind the massive wall. The atmosphere is incredibly dense, filled with abandoned research complexes, rusting machinery, and the constant feeling that you're being watched. It's a game designed for you to write your own survival story. Subnautica 2. The biggest promise of this new installment, and the one fans are most excited about, is full 4-player co-op. Now, you won't have to face the terrifying depths alone. You can share the fear of the Leviathans with your friends. We're heading to an entirely new planet with unique biomes, brought to life with stunning Unreal Engine 5 visuals. The water, lighting, and creature details are on a completely different level. Beyond multiplayer, the developers are introducing a DNA splicing mechanic, allowing your character to adapt to the hostile environment and gain new abilities. You can also expect new vehicles and even a system of ocean currents that can either help you travel faster or drag you into dangerous, uncharted zones. The team insists they'll maintain the same atmosphere of solitude and mystery we loved in the original, while making the world much deeper and more interactive. Lost Legions. In Lost Legions, you play as a Roman legionnaire stranded in the wild forests. The creators promise that this won't be just another building sim, but a story-driven adventure where you'll need to rescue scattered soldiers, build a fortified camp, and survive against hostile tribes and the elements. We're looking at a deep crafting system based on the realities of the time, everything from forging gladii to crafting authentic armor and erecting palisades. There is a heavy emphasis on tactics and squad management. You aren't just a fighter, you're a leader. The game promises a massive open world full of secrets from forgotten civilizations and mystical elements woven into historical reality. Frostrail. If you felt like Frostpunk didn't have enough action, Frostrail is exactly what the doctor ordered. Expected to release in late 2026, the developers describe it as a gritty survival FPS set in a world of permafrost. You take on the role of a conductor for a massive steam train hurtling through the frozen wasteland. This train is everything: your transport, your base, and your only protection from freezing. You'll have to constantly balance managing this iron monster with heading out into snow-covered ruins for resources and fuel. Every stop is a massive risk, as the cold is your most relentless enemy. The game will offer both single-player and co-op modes where every player has a job, whether it's tending to the boiler, fighting off mutated creatures, or scavenging for food in abandoned cities. As One We Survive. This project is a post-apocalyptic drama where you play as a father trying to save his sick daughter in a world where civilization has collapsed. The developers promise more than just a typical scavenge fest. It's a deep, emotional story where every decision impacts the state of your family and your community. You'll need to do more than just hunt for food and medicine. You'll have to build a settlement, unite other survivors, and defend them from marauders. The focus here is on realism, with grounded crafting and rare but extremely lethal combat. You'll be scavenging abandoned American suburbs, trying to stay under the radar while managing the social dynamics and morale of your group to ensure the colony doesn't crumble from within. Permafrost. This isn't just another cold-weather survival sim, it's a full-on life simulator set in an icy wasteland following a lunar cataclysm. The developers are doubling down on temperature physics and environmental interaction. For instance, you won't just build a fire, you'll have to account for wind direction and the thermal insulation of your building, or you simply won't wake up in the morning. They're promising that we'll be able to restore old machinery and even establish entire settlements in an attempt to bring back some semblance of normalcy for humanity. You'll explore a massive open world where abandoned cities aren't just loot stashes. They're hazard zones filled with unique temperature anomalies and wild animals also fighting for survival. You'll even be able to tame dogs to act as your loyal scouting partners and build complex heating systems to stay alive. Rooted. Rooted is one of those games where survival looks so beautiful you almost want to live there. Built on Unreal Engine 5, the developers are promising a next-gen post-apocalyptic experience. The game takes place decades after a bacteriological disaster. Nature has reclaimed the cities, and everything looks like a frame straight out of The Last of Us. We're being promised incredible detail, from the way your character navigates rubble to a realistic building system where you restore abandoned structures brick by brick to turn them into your outposts. The creators are emphasizing that this isn't just a sandbox, but an exploration game. It features advanced AI for both animals and NPCs that will react to every sound you make. You can play solo or in co-op, exploring dense forests and decaying urban centers. Sand, Raiders of Sophie. This is a massive survival title set in an alternate history where humanity colonizes other worlds using giant walking machines. These tramplers act as your home, your resource stash, and your battle fortress all at once. The developers promise that you'll be able to fully customize your walking giant, turning it into an impenetrable fort or a fast raiding vessel for hitting enemy bases. The gameplay revolves around scavenging for valuable artifacts and resources across endless deserts. While your massive robot treks through the dunes, you can run across its decks, fend off attackers, or manage engine repairs. It sounds like the perfect game for fans of Sea of Thieves, but in a Star Wars-style setting with a heavy dose of dieselpunk. Triarchy. Triarchy is an ambitious project that attempts to merge classic survival with grand strategy. Set in a world inspired by antiquity and myth, survival isn't just about finding your next meal, it's about building a civilization. You start as a lone outcast in a wild world, but the developers claim that by the end of the game, you can establish an entire city-state. The core feature is the faction and political system. You can align with one of three great powers or forge your own path, balancing the needs of war, trade, and religion. They're promising a dynamic world that evolves based on player actions, where you'll have to manage logistics, build irrigation systems, and maintain the loyalty of your settlers. Blackfrost, The Long Dark 2. To wrap things up, we have a real showstopper. This game is essentially the direct sequel to the legendary The Long Dark. After years of silence, the developers are promising a return to the quiet apocalypse in 2026, but on a much larger and more terrifying scale. The standout feature is the Blackfrost mechanic, an anomalous cold that behaves almost like a living creature, actively hunting the player. Survival will be even more punishing this time around, with a heavy focus on your character's mental state and hallucinations caused by the extreme cold. The sequel's biggest promise is a fully updated engine that makes the environment much more interactive. You'll be able to use almost any object in the world for improvised crafting, and the systems for hunting and interacting with predators are becoming significantly more complex. In conclusion, it's clear that developers are starting to find unique niches within the survival genre, ranging from deep botany and colony management on floating islands to psychological horror in the permafrost. Each of these 20 projects pushes the boundaries of the genre in its own way. Some focus on high-tech systems and co-op, like the Subnautica sequel, while others lean into extreme realism and the atmosphere of solitude. Your choice now depends entirely on the experience you're looking for, a meditative exploration or a brutal test of your skills in extreme conditions. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Which of these announced or released projects seems the most promising to you? Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive into new games, subscribe to the channel. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a nice day.